everyone. Dave Anderson here, Helicool's Helipad. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go to an awesome place called Masada. It remains the battle cry of the Israeli military to this day. Remember Masada. It is an amazing place. Get ready to learn a lot about it. You guys stay tuned. Masada was the last stronghold of Jewish freedom fighters against the Romans at the end of the Great Revolt after the destruction of the Second Temple. On the plateau are remains of an opulent palace, storerooms, a bathhouse, and cisterns built by King Harod. Complete siege works including walls, 8 camps, and a ramp testified to the Roman 10th Legion's adamant struggle to conquer the mountain. The site features a museum, a sound and light show, a cable car to the mountain, and an overnight campground. The fall of Masada signaled the violent destruction of the Kingdom of Judea at the end of the Second Temple period. The tragic events of the last days of the rebels at Masada transformed it into both a Jewish cultural icon and a symbol of humanity's continuous struggle for freedom from oppression. The plateau of Masada is located on the eastern fringe of the Judean desert near the shore of the Dead Sea, between En-Gedi and Sodom. It is a mountain block that rose and was detached from the fault escarpment surrounded at its base. The plateau, 450 meters above the level of the Dead Sea, is approximately 650 meters long and 300 meters wide. East of the mountain is sediment left by the ancient Dead Sea, scored by numerous cracks. Masada's remote location and its natural defenses were the advantages that transformed it into a fortress during the Second Temple period. Herod, who ruled from 37 BCE to 4 BCE, was well aware of the strategic advantages of Masada. He therefore chose the site as a refuge against his enemies and as a winter palace. One of the first events in the Great Revolt of the Jews against the Romans, which broke out in 66 CE, was the conquest of Masada. Eleazar ben Yair fled from Jerusalem to Masada and became commander of the rebel community on the mountain. The last of the rebels fled to Masada after the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 CE and joined those already at the fortress under the command of Eleazar ben Yair. According to Josephus, Masada was the last rebel stronghold in Judea. In 73 or 74 CE, the Roman 10th Legion, Festus, led by Flavius Silva, laid siege to the mountain. The legion, consisting of 8,000 troops, among which were auxiliary forces, built 8 camps around the base, a siege wall and ramp made of earth and wooden supports on a natural slope to the west. Captive Jews brought water to the troops, apparently from En-Gedi, as well as food. After a siege that lasted a few months, the Romans brought a tower with a battering ram up to the ramp, with which they began to batter the wall. The rebels constructed an inner support wall out of wood and earth, which the Romans set ablaze. As Josephus describes it, when the hope of the rebels dwindled, Eleazar ben Yair gave 2 speeches in which he convinced the leaders of the 960 members of the community that it would be better to take their own lives and the lives of their families than to live in shame and humiliation as Roman slaves. This grand residence at the entrance of the northern complex indicates that it is the commandant's residence of Masada. The residence, consisting of a central courtyard surrounded by rooms, some of which were adorned with color wall paintings, later served as homes to rebel families. The Northern Palace, a grand and daring building constructed by Herod,
is Masada's architectural gem. It is 30 meters high, built on 3 rock terraces, and supported by impressive retaining walls. Combined with both Hellenistic and Roman architectural elements, the palace was built to host high-ranking visitors and to allow the king his solitude. Herod and his family lived on the upper level, and the 2 lower levels were for receptions.
This is one of the palaces of King Herod. King Herod had built.
The upper terrace level, consisting of the king's private rooms and lookout patio, has been preserved in its original Herodian form. In addition to the strategic advantage of the palace's location at the inaccessible northern edge of the cliff, residents could enjoy the breeze at this point. From here you can look down on the 2 lower levels of the palace. Descent to these levels in antiquity was via a flight of stairs west of the palace that was destroyed in an earthquake.
This is part of the original palace floor, all in a beautiful mosaic.
If you look closely at this wall, you'll see a black line, now indicating by a red line, that runs horizontally along this wall. Below the line is what actually was there prior to the restoration. Anything above has been restored.
This is the bathhouse of Masada. We'll be going in there.
Bathhouses were an integral part of Roman culture.
This would have been the exercise area.
Entering the first room of the bathhouse is the dressing room, with its unique paved floors and fresco-adorned walls. During the revolt, benches were made out of column drums and were installed in this room along with an immersion pool. This is an example of the cold room, the frigidarium. It is a stepped pool. Continuing through the original arched entrance to the hot room, colladarium. This room had a double floor known as a hypocaust. The upper floor stood on brick and stone columns. Hot air flowed under the floor and rose through clay pipes embedded in the walls. In one corner of the room, a portion of the floor and wall has been restored. Nearby was a bath to which hot water was channeled. The room was originally decorated with frescoes and stucco reliefs and had a wide vaulted ceiling. Here is an opening in the wall created for the visitors to view the bathhouse furnace. This concentration of 29 long rooms surrounded by corridors was built by Herod to hold food, liquid, and weapons. As Josephus describes them, for here had been stored a mass of corn amply sufficient to last for years, abundance of wine and oils, besides every variety of pulse and piles of dates. These are how big the storehouses were. They're huge. Probably pretty close to 100 feet long at least. 3 pits discovered in one of the storeroom's plastered floors attest to the storage of liquids. Josephus states that when the rebels took the fortress, they found well-preserved food supplies, which he attributed to the arid conditions. Although from the date of storage to the capture of the place by the Romans, well nigh a century had elapsed. Masada's arid location required a permanent water supply. The impressive system Herod built included dams that diverted floodwater to channels leading to 12 cisterns hewn on 2 levels into the rocky slope. The plastered cisterns could hold an amazing 40,000 cubic meters of water. Pack animals then bore the water up to the cisterns on the mountain top. Eleazar ben Yair's speech.
Let our wives die before they are abused, and our children before they have tasted slavery. And after we have slain them, let us bestow that glorious benefit upon one another mutually, and preserve ourselves in freedom as an excellent funeral monument for us. But first let us destroy our money and the fortress by fire, for I am well assured that this will be a bitter blow to the Romans, that they shall not be able to seize upon our bodies, and shall fail to our wealth also. And let us spare nothing but our provisions, for they will be a testimonial when we are dead, that we are not subdued for want of necessities, but that according to our original resolution, that we have preferred death before slavery. Then having chosen by lot 10 of their number to dispatch the rest, they laid themselves down, each beside his prostrate wife and children, and flinging their arms around them, offered their throats in readiness for the executioner's melancholy office. These, having unswervingly slaughtered all, obtained the same rule for the lot of one another, that he on whom it fell should slay the first 9, and then himself last of all. They had died in the belief that they had not left not a soul among them alive into the Romans' hands. The Romans advanced to the assault, seeing none of the enemy but on all sides an awful solitude and flames within silence. They were at a loss to conjecture what had happened here, encountering the mass of slain. Instead of exulting as other enemies, they admired the nobility of the resolve and the contempt of death displayed by so many in carrying it unwaveringly into execution.
Wow, that's a very difficult thing to take in. If you really put yourself into those shoes, a very difficult thing to take in. But like I said, Masada, just a wonderful place to be, wonderful place to see, and the history there is just amazing. You guys come along next time. We're going to be continuing on this awesome adventure, and I appreciate you tuning in. Until next time, I'm Dave Anderson signing out. You guys be safe out there, and God bless.